DreAllDay.com.
You're now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get to use those of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And we put all of this together into one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one show, one daily masterclass. That is what you're listening to right now. That is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today, on the heels of how just yesterday we were talking about how traveling abroad for Americans can really help you appreciate the opportunity and all the amenities and accesses that you have here in the United States that are not a normal way of life in many other places in the world. Today I want to give you some tips when you are taking a trip, air travel tips specifically for maintaining your energy, health, at least as best you can, and your productivity. So I'm going to give you a tip for actually each one of those. Now, recently the trip that I was on, I told you I went to Tbilisi, Georgia, and I also traveled to Philadelphia, and I went through the city of Amsterdam in order to get to Tbilisi. Tbilisi doesn't have, there are no direct flights there straight from the United States. And this is about a 2 to 3 week trip. And what I want to share with you are some useful tips that can help you when you're traveling anywhere. You don't have to be traveling abroad, anywhere when you're traveling by airplane. And this could be even if you're just traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast or north to south or anywhere, anytime when you're getting on an airplane. Because I used to get on planes and I don't know, I used to feel like, man, being in this confined space with all these other people is just, first of all, it's not that physically comfortable for most of us, depending on what kind of seat that you're sitting in, depending on who you're sitting around, depending on the time of year, depending on the temperature in the plane. All those things can be variable, but also some people just can't really get comfortable on a plane. It's hard for you to maybe just relax. Maybe you're not the type of person who likes to be in such a confined space for a certain period of time. Maybe there's certain things that you don't like doing. Maybe you're not a big, be on your headphones listening to something, or you don't like to sit and read, and maybe there's nobody there for you to talk to. How can you make the most of this time when you're on a plane traveling, especially on what you would consider a long trip, whatever that is for you? So before we get into the points, let me tell you, I got a phone number where I want you to send me a text, and you can either ask me a question, you can share an insight, you can offer some follow-up information or ask for some based on anything that you hear on this show, on any particular episode. It doesn't have to be this one. Or you could just text me so that you can be on the list of people who gets my daily motivation text. And yes, I send daily motivation texts to anyone who is on my text list. And you can get on it by simply sending a text message to 305-384-6894. Again, that number is 305-384-6894. You'll get my daily motivation text. And if you ever want to ask a question or share a challenge, share an update, whatever, you can do that also via that number. And that number is also down below in the show notes. So let's get into it. The topic again today is air travel pro tips for energy, health, and productivity. Number one, you might have some idea that this one is coming. Here it is. It is water, or water, depending on where you're from, how you spell it. W-A-T-E-R. We're all talking about the same thing. That clear liquid that comes out of the sink, or not out of the sink, but out of the faucet in the sink. Water is the most important thing for me. Whenever I am traveling, the most important thing for me is drinking water. And that is hydrating a lot. If I know I'm getting on a plane on a day, I want to make sure I do a whole lot of hydration before I even get to the airport. And then once I get to the airport, usually I'll have a bottle with me. What I do is I keep a 1 liter bottle that I use for travel, like a plastic smart water bottle. And I'll go through security and then go to a water fountain once I'm inside of the security, and I'll refill the bottle and I'll either drink it before I even board the plane, or I'll have it full, or maybe I'll do both. Drink it before I get on the plane and then refill it again. And then while I'm on the plane, I'll have that with me to drink. But what I've found over the last year, specifically since the pandemic started, and I've been on, I don't even know how many flights, I think at least a dozen airplanes since the pandemic started a year and a half ago, is it seems like airlines are providing more water on their flights than they did before. Maybe they are not, and maybe I'm just more noticing it, and it just feels like they're giving more water because I'm drinking more of it. But it feels like they are more cognizant and they've been more active with giving out water, because one thing I do know that they're not doing like they used to. They're not offering meals the same way they used to. I've been on planes pre-pandemic when the meal options were amazing. I mean, they were really amazing, especially any of you who've ever sat in business class. The meal options would be great. They would give you maybe 3 or 4 different options, and then they give you the food would be like served hot, as if there's a kitchen back there. They would bring the food out, and I'm like, damn, where's the kitchen and the chef at? That's the way that the food will look. And there would be actual silverware, not this plastic disposable stuff, but actual silverware. They would have a lot of different options as far as even the snacks. They would come around with the snack tray, 3 or 4 times over the course of a flight, again, depending on the length of the flight. They're not doing that anymore due to pandemic restrictions. So now they have these bagged up packaged meals, which are sometimes not that bad. Especially when you fly cross country, they offer the meal to everybody, no matter what part of the plane you're sitting on. And the meals aren't always terrible, but they're not always great. I will say that. So anyway, the point that I'm bringing here, let's get back to the topic, which is water. That's the first point here. Planes are, I don't know the exact science of how plane cabins work. You can probably look this up, but we all know that airplanes, the inside, when the plane is in the air, they are very arid and they are designed to suck the air out of the cabin. All right, that's the design of it. Suck air out of the cabin, and there's some scientific design, health design to that is supposed to keep people safe. Again, you can go look that up and figure that out for your own. It's not necessarily what you need to know for this point, but the point of that point is that because the air is being sucked out continuously of the plane and replenished, is that an airplane is very dry. It's very dry on the inside. Now down here in South Florida, the air is very thick and humid. There's a lot of moisture in the air at all times. But on an airplane, it's the exact opposite. It's like the desert, but it's not hot. So it will dry your body out by design. When you're in an arid place, your body gets dried out. You notice that maybe your skin is more susceptible to getting ashy, or you just don't feel as, I know somebody like myself living in South Florida, I love the humidity, even though it can be sometimes uncomfortable. I enjoy that humidity. I'd rather a humid place where I'm just getting hot and maybe sweating just from standing outside than an arid place where everything feels so dry and my skin feels dry, my face feels dry, and I feel like I need to put chapstick on all the time and my hands feel ashy. I'd rather be somewhere where it's very humid and I'm hot and uncomfortable that way than arid because it's dry. So with all that being said, you must hydrate when you are on a plane, especially if you are on a long flight. Make sure when the flight attendants come around and offer drinks, ask for water, okay? I know that they offer drinks that you can pay for. I know they offer juice and stuff like that. And occasionally I'll have a cup of juice depending on how much water I've had, but I always make sure I get water at least the first time around and the last time around. Make sure you are hydrating on the plane because your body is being dried out. Even if you don't feel like you necessarily need water, your body is drying out. And the thing is, the human body is an amazing machine. It's the most amazing machine known to man because the body will make adjustments. When your body feels like, or it has been trained to believe that you're not going to give it a lot of water, your body will make adjustments without alarming you. Will make adjustments based on the amount of water that it has been getting and that it expects to get. So if you have trained your body to not get a lot of water because you just don't drink a lot of it, then your body has just made adjustments so that you can get by and get on without it. That doesn't mean you don't need it. Did everyone hear what I just said? Rewind what I just said if you weren't listening. So make sure you are continually hydrating even if you're not getting on an airplane. So what I do, as I explained to you, I drink a liter of water. Every morning when I wake up, I drink a liter of water no matter where I am. And I bring that bottle with me to the airport. And depending on how long the flight is and what time of day it is, I might drink that bottle before I go through security, or the bottle might already be empty by the time I get there. But once I go through security, of course, because they won't let you bring water through security. Why? I don't know. Maybe it messes with the security scanners or something like that. But if people know that it's water or juice or something like that, what the hell does it matter if you bring it through security? I don't quite understand that now that I'm talking about it. But anyway, I go through security, then I refill the bottle. Now, a disclaimer. I talked about this in yesterday's episode, but in American airports, usually you'll be able to find a water fountain pretty easily, especially in airports. They're all over the place. They're usually right next to the bathrooms, and the bathrooms are all over in airports. Now, when I'm in international airports, though, and this is something that I just got reminded of, and I just told you yesterday, a lot of times it's hard to find water fountains. I don't know what it is about the United States, but we seem to have water fountains everywhere, whereas other countries, it seems to be an afterthought, and maybe not a thought at all, because they are not so easy to come by. So if you're traveling in another airport that's outside the USA, you might not be able to find a water fountain as easily, but doesn't mean there isn't water. You might need to do something like go up to like a restaurant or anywhere that has food service and just ask somebody, like a bartender or something like that, like, yo, can you fill up this water bottle for me? I mean, it's not costing them anything. So if you're nice about it and you find a nice person, they'll probably do it. But I like to be self-sufficient where I don't have to ask anybody for a favor. I can just get it myself. So if you're outside the United States, you may have to do a little bit more legwork in order to get that water bottle. So when the flight attendants come, as I told you, request water, optionally, they will give you ice. And a lot of times, if you just ask for water, they usually put ice in it without asking you. So you need to tell them no ice. And this is just another side note that is not specifically on this point. Whenever you get a drink anywhere, whether it's at a restaurant or on a plane or anywhere in between, if they put ice in it, the ice displaces a lot of the fluid. So I remember when I was overseas, I would order drinks, and a lot of times it wasn't so hot outside, so I didn't want ice in my drink because it was already not that hot. I might already feel a little bit cold. So I would tell them, hey, I want this, give me this lemonade or this strawberry, whatever it was, but I don't want any ice in it. And a lot of times the server would be flustered because they weren't sure they could even serve it that way because they're used to always putting ice in it. But there were a few smarter, more seasoned servers who said, yeah, sure, we'll get it with no ice, and then they took care of it. But the thing is, when you order, let's say you ask for a cup of water and there's no ice in it, the cup is already pretty small, what they give you on an airplane. If it's ice in it, then it's almost like half as much water as you would get if there was no ice. So get the water with no ice so that you can actually get more of the water, okay? Get more of the water. The plane is already cold enough. I don't think you need necessarily the ice. So do that, and 4 cups of water without ice will equal to about 1 liter. So if you drink one of those little cups, this is the little cups they give you on a plane. Drink one of those little cups every 2 hours while you're flying. So a 4-hour flight, that'll be 8 cups, or 4 cups plus your refilled water bottle. That'll give you the liter of water that you need, a liter or 2 of water that you need. So an easy way to build the momentum to get those cups in, because you're like, damn, 8 cups of water for a 4-hour flight, Dre, that's a lot of water to be drinking. So here's how you can build momentum quickly. Ask for the water when they come around, and then as soon as they hand you the cup of water, drink it right there. As soon as they hand it to you, just drink the whole thing. It's a little cup. You can drink this whole thing. And then just ask them to refill it before they even move on to the next aisle. You could probably drink that real quick and ask for another one, and there you got 2 cups in right there. So you get that half liter of water in just 45 seconds of time, maybe less than that. So remember, and this is why I'm taking some time on this point, water is the key element. First of all, for just your overall health as a human being, water is the key element. Anything that you can put in your body that will help your body over any other thing you can put in your body, the number one thing is water. Hopefully somebody has told you that before, but if not, now you know. And when you're traveling, it is especially true because now you're in a foreign environment to your body. Wherever you're going is not the place that you are used to being, is not your home. You're around 50, 60, 100 other people who you do not know, and they're bringing whatever germs and whatever it is that they have expelling from their body are flying all around you. But it takes more than germs to get sick. Just because there are germs around you doesn't mean you're going to get sick. Right? You're being exposed to germs every day as soon as you walk out the house. If you talk to another person, you're being exposed to their germs. It doesn't mean you're going to get sick. So don't be grossed out by that. So you're being exposed to all these other germs. And while you're traveling, you may be, well, not maybe, but you are confined to a space that you're probably not used to for a period of time. You can't leave that space if you wanted to. You can't. I don't think you want to jump out of the plane, especially if you don't have a parachute or something like that. So water is the most important thing that keeps your body regulated and keeps all your other systems regulated while you are in that plane and while you are wherever it is that you're traveling to. So water is the key element when you're traveling, especially since while you're sitting on that plane, no matter what they serve, you're not getting food that you're used to. You're probably going to consume some junk because the airplanes are good with handing out junk food. And you're not going to get your normal rest. Even if you're a person who can sleep on a plane, it ain't the same as sleeping in your bed. I think we all can agree. So if you can only do one thing when you are traveling and you have to cut this episode off because you got somewhere to be and you listen to it later, just remember water. Number one element. Point number two. Today's topic, once again, is some air travel pro tips for energy, health, and productivity. Number two, try to, as best you can, avoid the junk food. Now, I'm not going to tell you abstain from the junk food. I'm a junk food connoisseur, I would guess I say. Maybe not quite a connoisseur, but I indulge in junk food every now and then. Right now on my desk, as I'm recording this, I got this big bag of Skittles. I bought 2 big bags of Skittles, like family-sized bags of Skittles, and I put them into a Ziploc plastic bag. So I got the Skittles right here. And if you're watching this on camera, you can see the bag of Skittles. You can see the rainbow and all the colors of Skittles. And I got some Mike and Ike's. The bag's not as big or not as full, but I got some Mike and Ike's as well. So I eat this kind of junk food. Candy's probably the thing that my vice when it comes to things that I put in my body. So when it comes to the junk food on flights, what you probably know if you ever taken a flight is that, again, no matter where in the cabin that you're sitting, flight attendants will come around and offer drinks such as water, apple juice, orange juice, stuff like that. And then they will offer snacks. And a lot of times they'll come around, they don't even offer you the snack, they just give it to you. Like they don't even ask you if you want it or not, they just give it to you. When I'm on American Airlines, they often bring, it's 2 things that they bring almost every flight. It'll be these little crackers, like these little wafer crackers, kind of like caramel flavored wafer crackers, 2 of them in the pack. And then they'll bring around either like Oreo cookies or pretzels. And they just hand it to you. They hand you a napkin and that, and they don't even ask you. They just give it to you. And I'm like, I don't even want this. And I remember she gave it to me one time. She handed it to me because I took it just so I could see what it was because the napkin was covering it. And then she said, oh, well, I can't take it back. So just, hold it, give it to somebody else, throw it away when we come back. But they can't take it back because of I guess with the safety restrictions and sanitation and all that stuff. But try to avoid the junk food. Now, how do you avoid junk food when somebody's just handing it to you? Because I understand if somebody just hands me some junk food and I'm on a plane and I ain't got nothing else to eat, I might open that junk food and eat it, even if I didn't really want it. But since it's right there being handed to me, I might sit there and eat it. So how do you avoid the junk food? What you need to do is pre-plan. You prepare ahead of time. All right. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail, as they say. So flights give this junk food not because the airlines are in some type of collusion because they want to destroy your health, but because junk food is cheap to acquire for them. It's easy for them to get the junk food. It's easy for them to store it because it already comes pre-packaged and has preservatives in it, so it can sit somewhere for a week and still be in the same shape that it was a week before. And it's easy to give out because it's already packaged up, so they don't have to worry about how they give it to you. They don't have to wear gloves or anything. They just hand you this wrapper. You open it, and the food is on the inside. So crackers, pretzels, cookies, etc. Now, if you have flown ever in your life, you've seen this. Again, they give it to everybody on the plane. And understand they give you the same junk if you pay for an upgrade of a seat, they give you the same junk in business class or first class that they give you when you're sitting in coach class. So how do you combat this? As I said, the key word is preparation. So what do you mean preparation? Or how can you prepare to avoid junk food? Here's how you prepare. You pack a couple of apples, bananas, trail mix, nuts, whatever good whole foods that you can pack in your carry-on bag, and you snack on that rather than eating the junk that the plane gives you. Because again, if I'm sitting on a plane for 3 hours and I haven't had anything to eat and somebody hands me something that I can eat, I'm probably just going to open it and eat it even if I'm not hungry because it's there. So have yourself prepare and pre-plan by having something in your carry-on bag. Whatever snacks you like. Go to the store before you get on the plane. First of all, it's much cheaper if you get it, in the everyday store where you live than if you get it at the airport or anything like that. And at the airport, they usually don't have any good snack food anyway. They sell you the same junk that the plane will give you for free. So don't buy it from there. Have that stuff in your bag and snack on that during the flight. So then when they come around with their junk, you're not tempted to eat it. And maybe you could sell it to the person next to you. So I'm there and giving you a business idea at the same time. So snack on that rather than snacking on whatever it is they give you. Junk food, the reason why I'm telling you to avoid junk food, because junk food provides a energy spike and then it crashes you down. That's what happens with junk food. And the last thing that you want on a plane is to have an energy spike, because what the hell are you going to do with that energy? You're sit there strapped to a seat in a tube that is 30,000 feet in the air. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything with that spike, so you don't want it. And then when you crash, what are you going to do then? Again, you can't lay down and go to sleep. Well, you can fall asleep, but you're sitting in this dirty chair that who knows, hundreds of other people have sat in before it has been properly cleaned, probably never has been properly cleaned. You're sitting next to a person who you don't know. Everybody is breathing and sneezing and farting and coughing all around you, and it's arid and dry, and you can't go anywhere, so you don't want to crash. And you also don't want a spike of energy. So you want to stay away from junk food, period, because you can't do anything with either of those energies. You want steady, consistent energy. You want that third day energy, even when you are confined to this tube and strapped to a seat in an airplane. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is some pro tips for air travel. Set yourself up to make use of the time. For those of you who are in productive mode right now, you're in seed planting mode, you're in farming mode. So you're planting the seeds and doing the work right now, and you know it's things that you need to get done, and you want to make the most of your time every minute of your day. I get texts from people who are asking me all the time, how can they be more productive with what they're doing? Set yourself up to make use of the time when you are sitting on a plane. I'll tell you something personally about me. I never sleep on airplanes. I do not sleep on airplanes. It is uncomfortable for me to sleep sitting upright. I don't know about any of you, but that's uncomfortable for me. Now, if I fall asleep, I fall asleep. But I never plan to sleep on an airplane. Second of all, I don't like being asleep around a bunch of people who I don't know, because I have no idea what any of these mofos might have up their sleeves, and I don't want to be unalert and not on point around a bunch of people who I don't know, even though I don't think anything's going to happen that's like so terrible to me. At the same time, I don't know these people. I don't trust these motherfuckers, so I don't want to be asleep around them. The third thing is, it's also because it's so dry, and because the air can be usually colder than what I'm used to the temperature being when I'm sleeping. It's just not comfortable for me, period. So even on long flights, such as flight from the United States over to Europe, I was going both directions. They were 10-hour flights. It's a 10-hour flight from US soil to European soil. 10 hours. I stayed awake throughout the entire 10 hours on both of those flights. And what I did, you don't have to do this, but what I did is I bought the in-flight Wi-Fi. In-flight Wi-Fi I was on Delta in these particular flights. It was like $21 each way. So $21 going in, $21 coming back. And then I just was on my laptop doing work, putting together notes, like what your notes for, things like what you're listening to right now, or putting together sales funnels, or writing emails, or responding to emails, or whatever it was that I was doing. But I worked through the entire flight. And I remember on my return flight coming back to the USA, one of the flight attendants, this black woman, she came up to me when the flight was about to land. She was like, "Man, you were awake the entire time." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm like sleeping on planes," because she could see that I was on my laptop. I was on my laptop with the tray table up working the entire time, and she just noticed that I had been awake. She had been awake too, but at least she had something to do. I had to figure out what I was going to do. So anyway, I'm not telling you that to impress you, but to impress upon you that I could do this because I knew what I wanted to work on. That's what I mean here when I say set yourself up to make use of the time. I knew that I was going to be on a 10-hour flight, so I would figure out, what am I going to do for 10 hours? What can I get done during this 10-hour time period? So writing these notes, in fact, I wrote these notes specifically on a flight from Philadelphia to Miami. So that wasn't the international, it was a domestic flight. It's only about 2-3 hours, but I was making use of that time. I'm adding leads to my CRM. I'm replying to emails. I'm writing articles. Even if you don't want to splurge on Wi-Fi, you don't have to pay extra money for the Wi-Fi. You already paid for your flight. You might already be paying for wherever it is that you're going. You might not want to spend any extra money. That's fine. You don't got to get the Wi-Fi. Bring a book with you. Read the book. If you're a type of person who want to do everything on your digital devices, download podcast episodes like Work on Your Game and listen to them while you're on the plane. Since you're not going to have Wi-Fi, again, this is preparing. This is part of your preparation, folks. Make sure you download whatever you want to listen to before you get on the plane. I remember I was on a plane once and I didn't realize, it didn't occur to me that I needed to download the music that I want to listen to on the plane. And then when the plane takes off, and I realized that I can't access the music on my streaming services because I don't have access to data. I don't have any music downloaded. So I couldn't listen to any music while I was on the plane. But I did have some audiobooks. I was able to listen to those. So make sure you check your audio streaming apps, whether that's the music app, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, whether it's audiobooks or it's podcasts. Make sure the things you want to listen to on the plane are downloaded to your device. Just because you see them there does not mean they're downloaded to the device. So make sure you're checking and that they're downloaded to your phone or your tablet or your laptop or whatever before you get on the plane, because once the plane takes off, it's too late. And you can also use apps like, an app that I like to use very much is called Instapaper. Instapaper is an app that saves articles that you find around the internet or in your email, whatever. It will save the article to its app. Again, it's called Instapaper, one word. And then it will download the articles to that app. And then you just open up Instapaper and it just has a list of every article that you've saved, and all you need to do is just click on it and it will just open that article in Instapaper. So it downloads it to like a plain text format. So it strips out all the bells and whistles, all the ads, all that stuff is stripped out from whatever website the article was on, and it all saves right there in Instapaper, and you can read all your articles right there. So my Instapaper right now, I have probably maybe 1,000 articles saved in here. So whenever I want to read articles, all I do is open Instapaper and I can just scroll through and I can read any article that I want right there on Instapaper. And that's a good one for planes, especially those of you who like to read, because not that many things you could do on a plane. Have ebooks. If there are any ebooks that you like to read, have them saved. All that stuff, make sure they're saved ahead of time before you get on the plane. So the great thing about plane travel when it comes to productivity is that your options are severely limited. I mean, you can't physically go anywhere. You physically probably can't do too much. There's a lot of things that you could do when you were at home with idle time that you can't do when you're on a plane with idle time, which means you can narrow your focus because you have fewer possible distractions. So that 10 hours that I spent working on a flight, I might not have spent that whole 10 hours straight working had I been at home, because I would have had every option available to me at home. But on a plane, since I didn't have all those other options, I couldn't do things like record. I couldn't do things like walk around. I couldn't do things like talk to anybody on the phone. I could only focus on that work because I had so few options. So I was able to do the things that I really needed to do, and there was nothing that could have pulled me away from it. So those fewer possible distractions will allow you to make use of the time, and don't waste the time. Those of you who are looking for productivity in everything that you do, all right, don't be on a plane watching damn movies. All right, when I was on my 10-hour flight coming back to the USA, there was this older white guy who was sitting in the section next to mine. So I'm in the the window section, and then there's a middle section, and then there's another window section on the other side on the bigger planes. And this guy, he had to be about 70, 80 years old. This dude he stayed up the entire flight too. He and I were both awake. We never talked to each other or acknowledged each other, but he was awake as well. And he was watching movies the whole 10 hours. He did not sleep at all. He watched movies the whole 10 hours. He got to go to the bathroom at least like 5 or 6 times. But other than that, he was watching movies the whole time. Listen, don't be talking about you need more time for productivity, but you want a plane watching a movie. All right, now you got 3 hours on a plane. That's 3 hours of work that you could get done if you think ahead and plan ahead to get it done. So 2 hours of focused work, everybody, is much more than a lot of people give in a regular day. Many people don't even do 2 hours of focused work over the course of a day, even when they're at a job, when they're being paid for 8 hours a day. So these are ways that you can set yourself up for success, productivity-wise, this third point on a plane. Let's recap our whole masterclass here today, which is air travel pro tips for energy, health, and productivity. Number 1, water, water, water. Planes are arid, they are dry, they suck air out of the cabin by design. It dries your body out. Even though you may not feel dry, your body is dried out. Just because your body is not screaming at you that there's an emergency does not mean you don't need to be hydrated. All right, hydrate before you get on the plane, hydrate while you are on the plane, and hydrate as soon as you get off of the plane. When the flight attendants come around, ask for water without ice so that you get more water in the cup. 4 of those little cups equals about 1 liter of water. And you want to drink at least 1 liter of water for every 2 hours you're on a plane. So if you're on a 4-hour flight, that means 8 of those cups of water you need to drink. If 8 cups seems like a lot, then what you need to do is have a liter bottle, empty liter bottle with you, take it through security, then refill the bottle at the water fountain before you get on the plane, then drink that bottle while you're on the plane. You'll probably need to get up and go to the bathroom. They got bathrooms on planes, you'll be all right. You need to stand up and stretch your legs out anyway. So number 2, avoid junk food as best you can. Flights give junk food not because they're trying to make you fat and unhealthy, because junk food is cheap to acquire, is easy to store, and is easy to give out. Crackers, pretzels, cookies, etc. If you've been on a plane, you've seen this stuff. You combat this by preparing ahead of time and packing in your carry-on bag apples, bananas, trail mix, salted nuts, whatever it is that you like to eat, whatever things you can eat that are better than the junk food they're going to give you on a plane. If you need some ideas as to some better options, send me a text and I'll give you some better options based on what kind of food you like to eat. All right, junk food gives you a spike of energy, then a crash of energy. You don't want either one of those on a plane because you can't do anything with either one. So you want steady, consistent energy even while you're sitting in a metal tube in which you're strapped to a seat. Number 3, set yourself up to make use of your time. I personally do not sleep on planes. I spend that time for productivity, whether I buy the in-flight Wi-Fi, whether I'm reading articles on my phone, whether I'm reading books, I'm listening to a podcast or an audiobook. Another thing, I cannot read while the plane is in takeoff or landing mode. When it's actually going up or coming down, it gives me motion sickness. So when I'm in those periods, I make sure I have a podcast or an audiobook already queued up and downloaded to my device. Important. Make sure you check that your stuff you want to listen to is already downloaded to your device before the plane takes off, because then it'll be too late. So if you can't read on the plane or you don't like to read, make sure all the stuff you want to listen to is already saved. Do not waste that time on the plane watching damn movies and TV shows and then complain that you don't have time for productivity. So if you need productivity, use that time on the plane, since your options are limited and you can really focus on the things that you need to get done. Send me a text. Tell me the best insight you got from this. Tell me something that I might have missed out on or a question that you may have to follow up. My number is 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre all day.